two, one.
Good afternoon. This is Professor Anderson with your feedback times two or part two. I apologize, Caitlin. I just received your email just a few moments ago, opened this up, and noticed that you had not received or couldn't locate the feedback. And when I pulled in here, this little box right down here in your assignment folder is where the feedback should have been. It's a link, it's a YouTube video. I went back through my whole cadre of them and I can't find yours either. And I know I did it because I recall your assignment. And the reason that I extended assignments was you may have noted that university-wide, they were working on the LEO system on Monday and Tuesday. And I have several students that are, they're all over the world. And so sometimes like the Eastern Standard Time Monday is some of my students that are in Japan, it's their Sunday, it's their Monday morning. Or Monday evening. So depending on when that works, when that window hits, it can fluctuate the time zone. So I went ahead and extended to Wednesday just to make sure that everyone was safe. So that explains it, but I don't understand. That explains why I extended it, but I don't understand why you couldn't put submit your folder. So I will go back and check on that. And I don't know why your feedback you weren't able to find it, and I can't find it either. So here's a new feedback, and I'm giving you until this Sunday. I'm extending everything. Let me pull my calendar up. I had this up just a moment ago to make sure. I am giving you, oh my goodness, everything is working. Let's take until the 28th of October. That'll be next Monday because you'll have your technical writing is also due on the 27th. It's just too much. I apologize. It's completely, I have no rhyme or reason as to why this is why you weren't able to receive that. So let's just start from scratch. Here's some feedback. You have an extra week to envelope this and then to submit it. I love your little introduction that you have here. What I would do, first of all, put an apostrophe here. And I want you to pay attention to something called parallel structure. Now, parallel structure means that things in a series are in the same tense or of the same kind. For example, I like to go bike riding, roller skating, and swimming. All of them are verbs that end in ing. It wouldn't sound it would not be in parallel structure if I said I like to go bike riding, skateboarding, and to make make cakes. So I don't have the same parallel structure. Your first sentence does that. It says, "'Tis the season to go apple picking, make pumpkin rolls, and best of all, carve jack-o'-lanterns." Instead, I'm better to say, "'Tis the season to pick apples, make pumpkin rolls, and carve jack-o'-lanterns." So that makes sense how you need to keep that structure the same. Carving pumpkins is an American tradition and a great way to include the entire family. I'm just offering suggestions. Here is where there was a little bit of confusion here. Listen to this sentence. Be prepared for a mess, but it can be a contained mess with these steps taken. Better to say, while carving a jack-o'-lantern can be a daunting and messy task, these steps will help you to carve a pumpkin and enjoy some Halloween-themed family fun, something like that. I like your cautions here. Your caution, what I recommend to say is caution. The use of sharp objects is required in this task. And then underneath of that caution, an explanatory note. Sharp objects should be used by adults or by children only under the supervision of adults or something like that. Ensure fingers and hands are out of the way when cutting pumpkin, and make certain to always cut away from yourself. So what you're doing is you're giving a caution, and then underneath of it, you're adding a note. And those are requirements for this assignment. What I also recommend is, and I like how you have this spaced out. You do have good format throughout here. What I would recommend that you do is put a box behind this, like highlight this in a different color. Make your cautions one color and your notes another. For your materials, see how you have here, this is a subsection. Make that a little bolder and put that in another separate color. So a pumpkin and knife. I would nest like pumpkin, and then I would say carving instruments and nest small kitchen knife, sharp serrated knife, something like that. scissors, include those together. So you're chunking your information, which is another thing that you need to do is nest. Now preparing the pumpkin, and then you have another one, printing stencils, and then you have another one down here, carving the pumpkin, and then there's one more down here. There's another one. I thought there was one in here about lighting the pumpkin. So what I recommend that you do is underneath, okay, let's go back up to materials, make this a little larger, perhaps even like 22 or something like that, 22, 24, and put a separate color behind there. Let's just say, for example, orange. Let's put the, maybe I'm just offering these as suggestions. It's not required. Like the cautions in yellow, the notes in purple, the materials in orange, and then preparing the pumpkin, each of these subsets of instructions in another color, say, even put in the background black and the text white. So what that does is that creates a sense of alignment so that the information, the types of information have the same sort of formatting. I have step 1, choose a pumpkin, and then move this underneath and maybe even start it right here. Pumpkin should be optimal size for carving to ensure that it is big enough to carve. Give a dimension, give a physical idea of what that might be. Make sure it's in good condition and has a sturdy stem. Good condition means what? It's not moldy on one side. It doesn't have bugs on it. I don't know. The pumpkins can be found at pumpkin patches or supermarkets. That is your first statement, because before you pick an optimal size, you need to know where you can find one. Clean it off, wash off the dirt. Underneath of that, a subset of notes or a further explanation should go under the steps, so that your steps should be, the direction. Step 1, choose a pumpkin. All the other information nested under it. Step 2, clean up the pumpkin. All the other, wash the pumpkin. All the other information under. Step 3, set up carving station. All the information. If that makes sense, that falls in line with what is called alignment of the paper. Here you would put this if this were your second area of instructions, downloading stencils. And then make sure you do that same. Step 1, don't start with to do this. Say, search jack-o'-lantern printable stencils, period. Using your search engine, search various strands to find jack-o'-lantern printable stencils. 2, download the image. Remember, a command. These are imperative statements. You're always using imperative voice. You start with a verb. 3, you want to hit click. Well, actually, put down here. Let's see. Download the file. Download the file, or download image. You've already done. Click 4. Click on the image. Next step, press file. Next step, press print. So I would move these in between. So here, this image should come after step 2, and then after step 3, click the image, download So you want to move these images to the underneath of the step. I would recommend shrinking the image and maybe having the images right justified, and that just gives you a hard edge of all the images will be right justified. Just again, for alignment purposes, you want to create that hard edge. Make sure that you do have them labeled and identified. Again, here's another set of sub instructions, and I would maybe put the background in black and make the letters in white. Step 1, cut a hole in the top of the pumpkin around the stem, and then underneath of it, all this information goes under it. Note, it's better, you want to have this note the same color as the first note, the figure there to show it. That's awesome. Cut seeds and flesh from the top of the pumpkin, period. Not using a scooper, remove filling from the pumpkin, period. And then say, use a scooper and hands if necessary. So move this around, and then highlight your note as I shared before. So that should give you, put you in the right direction of where you need to go. I hope it was helpful, and I'm so sorry. I have no idea what happened to your original screencast.